Video games are a beautiful, complex, and ever-evolving medium. Every week, new games are released, and the industry continues moving forward, sometimes for the best, other times not so much. It can be a lot to keep up with. That's where we come in. 1RBC Gaming Weekly is your source for all the important stuff that happens in the world of gaming. We're not just here to deliver information. We're here to give you something worth thinking about when it comes to the world of gaming. So, sit back, relax, and prepare to turn on your mind. This week in gaming, Digital Homicide's games have been removed from Steam, PSP emulator PPSSPP 1.3 was released and brings Vulkan support, Pokemon games are coming to the Nintendo NX, Guardians of Atlas has been cancelled, Blizzard has announced that it's phasing out the Battle.net name for their online services in order to replace it with the Blizzard name, Supercell has purchased a 51% stake in Badlands developer Frogmind, Capcom is assuming direct control with the latest Street Fighter V update, and this is the first episode of 1RBC Gaming Weekly. Welcome. We hope you'll stick around. First off, we got an interesting piece of information regarding the Nintendo NX that, in some ways, seems to have confirmed rumors. Tsunekazu Ishihara, president of the Pokemon Company, said in an interview with the Wall Street Journal that a Pokemon game is coming to the Nintendo NX, and that the NX is trying to change the concept of what it means to be a home console device or a handheld device. Thus far, all the rumors have pointed to the NX being a hybrid handheld and home console, and this really seems to confirm it. I'm not sure what to think about the idea of the NX being a hybrid in this style. On the one hand, I love the concept. It could be the true realization of the Dreamcast VMU or the GameCube's GBA player. On the other hand, I fear that the potential of a hybrid console will wind up being squandered. Think about it. Nintendo's pretty much giving up on the Wii U, and understandably so. The Wii U wasn't the success that Nintendo was hoping for, in large part thanks to lackluster marketing, among other things. But there were quite a few games that made good use of the Wii U's control pad. Splatoon, for instance, redefined how a shooter can control and play with its use of the Wii U tablet controller. What happens if the NX, whatever it'll be, doesn't sell as well as Nintendo is hoping, and we never see the full realization of the device's potential? Will it discourage Nintendo and other manufacturers from trying similar concepts in the future? I have my concerns, but I also have my hope. The potential for games on a hybrid system is massive. Imagine a Pokemon game that's played like an ordinary game in the series on a handheld device, but when you go home and plug into the rest of the system, an experience more akin to Pokemon Coliseum is waiting for you. Or, imagine a Metroid game that's a 2D platformer when handheld, and a first-person adventure on the main console. You could have the best of both styles of Metroid. Now just imagine what this could do for Pikmin. Whatever the NX is, here's hoping it's good. Regarding Digital Homicide, good news. Their games have been removed from Steam. Now why is this good news? Well, in case you haven't heard of them, Digital Homicide has published a number of games on Steam that were complete and utter garbage. To make things worse, they had engaged in a number of questionable business practices, and to top it all off, they've abused YouTube's copyright system in order to take down negative reviews of their awful games. Digital Homicide engaged in behavior that was anti-consumer. They did bad business, but what ultimately led to their games being removed from Valve's digital distribution service? Recently, James Romine, owner of Digital Homicide, was granted a subpoena against Valve in order to obtain the identities of Steam users who had supposedly slandered, stalked, and harassed his company. Romine wants to sue these users for $18 million. Frankly, Digital Homicide's entire library of games isn't worth 18 cents. Romi's ridiculous con is hilarious to watch unfold and subsequently fall apart because Valve's decided that it's not worth doing business with Romi. In a statement made to TechRaptor.net, Doug Lombardi of Valve said that Valve has stopped doing business with Digital Homicide for being hostile to Steam customers. Personally, I want to believe that Romian is just a naive and aggressive person who will get psychological help one day, but I'm certain that the sinister truth is that he's just interested in making money by any means, crooked or otherwise. We'll be keeping an eye on this dumpster fire of a legal battle, so stick with us for further updates. The lawsuit against the Valve users isn't the only legal battle that Digital Homicide has brewing. They're also attempting to sue YouTube critic Jim Sterling for $15 million on account of his criticism of their games. While we're talking about frustrating experiences on Steam, this week Capcom pushed out an update for Street Fighter V that broke the game for a number of players. The update introduces the capcom.sys file that installs itself in your system folder. According to a statement by Capcom, it prevents memory address hacks that are commonly used for cheating and illicitly obtaining in-game currency. Unfortunately for many users, this has stopped the game from running at all. To make things worse, by installing something into the computer's kernel level, this has created a potential security risk. It's a fresh hole for hackers to exploit. Of course, this patch isn't to stop people from cheating when playing against each other. It's being done to guarantee that you can't cheat your way to the in-game currency that Capcom has a vested interest in trying to sell you more of. Classic Capcom. Street Fighter V is also available on PS4, where it's notably less likely to be used as a conduit for a keylogger. Personally, I'd suggest just nabbing a Dreamcast and a copy of Third Strike on eBay. The art style in that game is way cooler anyway. Later on Friday, Capcom announced that they would be rolling back the update and informed players that all new content of the September update would remain available, and that they'd have an update on the time frame for the PC rollback solution soon. So while they messed up badly, at least they're acknowledging it. The upcoming Final Fantasy XV has been getting a lot of TLC in the story department. Much of the backstory of the world and characters in the upcoming game are being fleshed out through media outside the as-of-yet unreleased title. This isn't uncommon in the world of games, though what has been released thus far is quite impressive. If you're into anime, you may be pleased to hear that the Brotherhood Final Fantasy XV animated series is now complete. All 5 episodes are available to watch on YouTube for free. I have yet to see the last couple episodes, though I am quite impressed thus far. The web series has done a good job establishing backstories for the game's characters. Hopefully, character development and story are just as compelling in the game when Final Fantasy XV is released on November 29, 2016. In game releases this week, Kings Under the Hill hit early access on Steam, and I have to say, it looks really unique. It's an RTS with some base-building elements in which you must design a system of medieval tunnels for rats going to war with one another. There's something about the look of the game that reminds me of old DOS titles. It's really neat sprite work. There's only one review of the game on Steam at the time of production, but it is positive. If you're looking for an original strategy game, check out Kings Under the Hill, which is currently available for Windows. Released on Xbox One and Windows this week is Forza Horizon 3. An open-world racing game, Forza Horizon 3 is set in Australia and features quite a variety of places to race, ranging from beaches to cities to forests. In many ways, it takes after the fantastic Burnout Paradise, which is a personal favorite of mine, so I'm going to have to check this one out. Thus far, the game has gotten great critical reception, and it's been praised for its gorgeous environments, varied gameplay modes, and overall quality. Also, in case you're a fan of the Halo series, I am legally obligated to tell you that the Warthog is available in the game. Thanks, Microsoft. I also feel that it's worth mentioning that the PC version of the game does have some issues. Players are reporting performance problems with certain hardware configurations, so you might want to hold off on picking it up unless you're positive that your computer will run the game with no issues. It's not too often that we see new, historically set strategy games. While generally the bigger strategy franchises are historically oriented, think Civilization and Total War, it isn't every day that a developer takes on the challenge of making a new historical strategy game. Hence why Oriental Empires has my attention. Out now in early access on Steam, it's a 4X game set in ancient China. Your goal is to create a great empire by building cities, through conquest, and by advancing technology, culture, and religion. From what I've been hearing about the game, it has plenty of potential as players really seem to like the concept, setting, and mechanics, and that it feels a lot like a Civilization game. However, it also has some pretty serious bugs since it's currently in early access, so you may want to hold off on picking up Oriental Empires until it's a little further developed. Oriental Empires is currently available for Windows. The brief Memoir in Code reissue was released on Steam this week for Mac, Windows, and Linux. It's an experimental autobiographical video game that's designed to be experienced like a music album. You can get through it in about an hour and a half, and from what I've heard, it's a decent experience, but it's not for everybody. However, if you are into experimental stuff and kinda weird games that defy classification, you should check it out. While we're talking artsy games, Vision Trick Media's Pavilion came to Mac, Windows, and Linux this week, and it's a surreal puzzler described as a fourth-person adventure. I haven't played the game yet, but I want to simply because of its insanely beautiful aesthetic sense. As for what I've heard about the game, it's gotten somewhat mixed reviews. On the one hand, the puzzles are well designed and the game's atmosphere is powerful, but on the other hand, the game wasn't designed for PC. It's still set to be released for the PlayStation Vita and PS4, and it really shows. Exhibit A? Not only does the game lack proper options for audio and resolution, you have to use your arrow keys in order to control the in-game cursor. You can't use your mouse in an adventure puzzler. Let's let that sink in for a moment. For countless decades, for ages beyond human comprehension, the mouse has been the primary input device for adventure puzzle game cursors. Pavilion insists on having you use your arrow keys like some sort of barbarian. Yeah. Besides that issue, however, it seems that the game's fantastic. Hopefully the developers get around to fixing this. Now bear in mind that this is the game's first chapter. The second is set to be released next year. Maybe outer space is more your thing. Well, if that's the case, you should definitely check out Fractured Space, which left early access on Steam this week, and it looks really awesome. In fact, I've played a bit of the game back when it was in beta, and I enjoyed it. It's sort of a space combat MOBA, along the lines of something like God Factory Wingman. Check out this launch trailer.
You have been selected from the best minds we have. You will take charge of one of the most advanced spacecraft ever assembled. As part of an elite fleet, you will achieve your objectives. Strategy is the key to any successful engagement. First, know your enemy. If you specialize as a light or medium attack, assess your opponent's strengths, weaknesses, and threat level. Commanders of heavy cruisers should move into position to lay siege to hostiles while overcoming firepower. Those of you who pilot support craft must perform the vital role of repairing and augmenting Allied ships in the thick of battle. From the front lines, call out threats to the team's long-range attack vessels. They will keep the heavies at bay, so you can continue to push forward. To overpower the enemy, you must outthink them. And the enemy exists in every known sector. Each battle will take you closer to your goal. You have everything you need at your disposal. Now, go make it happen.
And now for a brief word from our sponsor.
Wow, somebody finally did it. And fishermen around the world say this lure will change fishing forever.
You tie a line to it, you throw it in the water, you pull it, and it catches fish. It's almost like they have to eat it.
That doesn't look like a fake bait. The Mighty Bite that's something.
Imagine a lure that will make fish bite hard, hold on, and refuse to let go until you hook them and reel them in. Say hello to Mighty Bite. And nothing catches a fish's attention better than a wounded bait fish. And that's exactly how Mighty Bite looks, sounds, smells, tastes, and feels. That's why fish cats say no to Mighty Bite. It's better than live bait. And get the Mighty Bite fishing system now.
Hey, Mighty Bite Hand 5.
Woo! Oh yeah!
In today's special TV-only offer, you get the original 5-cent fishing lure system, the Mighty Bite. You get 8 pre-rigged, ready-to-fish Mighty Bite lures in proven multiple sizes, shapes, and natural colors. So you're locked and loaded to catch everything from panfish to giant bass to trophy-sized saltwater game fish.
In crowdfunding news this week, a game called SOS Atlas has captured our attention. It's described as a sci-fi/fantasy adventure. Now, the game's premise is that your character is responding to a distress call from a support armada that was, in turn, on a mission to deliver supplies to planets full of folks in need. Suddenly, however, the Gork Run, vicious robots run amok, attack the armada, and it's up to you to lead a rescue mission. An interesting feature of the game is that it will allow players to set parameters on procedurally generated worlds, meaning that you can decide sea levels, flora, and other conditions. It's an interesting premise. Ultimately, your goal is to find your father, who went missing due to the attacks. These tools that allow you to choose what sort of world you wind up on will help you to accomplish that. Now, in a lot of ways, this sounds reminiscent of No Man's Sky, but with a much tighter focus. Sure, there's plenty of exploration to be done, but you have a well-defined goal, and the developers aren't promising the world, or all the worlds. Now, as to how the game will actually turn out, I can't say, but I am looking forward to it. SOS Atlas is currently in development for PC, and is set to be released September 2017. Maybe you prefer sportier science fiction. If so, you might want to take a look at Warp Ball, which is currently on pixelthunder.com and looks pretty interesting. Currently in development for Mac, Windows, Linux, and Xbox One, it's a game in which players kick around a ball. Think football or soccer if you're in the United States, but there's a fundamental difference here. Everybody has the ability to teleport a short distance, with the exception of whoever's in control of the ball. Now, this game draws inspiration from Monday Night Combat and Speedball 2. It boasts support for 1 to 4 players playing either online or locally, and the developers are currently aiming at releasing it early in 2017. Now, personally, I'm really not into sports games, with the exception of, Rocket League. However, I like the idea of sports games that mix up the formula by introducing something different, like teleportation, for instance. So I just might try my hand at Warp Ball. You should check it out on Pixel Thunder if it sounds like your sort of game.
Ability and control of the ball. As well as the teleport, you can customize your character with a secondary ability such as phasing and stealing the ball as you walk. To win this fast-paced teleportation enhanced game of football, you need to score the most points, either by traditional goals or bouncing the ball off of all the bumpers around the map. Skill play requires a combination of fast reactions, reading your opponent and tactical positioning, but the basics are easy enough to be picked up by kids. Warp Ball can be played by 2 to 4 players both online and locally, and will also include a single player mode, facing off against CPU controlled opponents. Since the release of our previous project Standpoint, we've been working hard to make Warp Ball even better. Most of the core systems for the game are already implemented, and we'll be spending the time until our early 2017 release focusing on adding more content to make the game the best it can be. We've already shown early builds of Warpwall at events such as Minecon and Insomnia, and the reaction's been awesome. We're really excited to get the game into more people's hands, and we hope you're interested in helping us do that. Thanks for watching.
If you're a fan of Rocket League, good news. A new map called the Aquadome has just been announced. Set to be released for free to all players in October, the Aquadome is set underwater, and it looks really cool. There's something about the style of the trailer and the look of the arena, probably the underwater setting and all the Art Deco, that seem reminiscent of BioShock. Now, was this meant to be tied into the recent BioShock re-release? It may have been. Why it's not BioShock branded now, however, I couldn't tell you. Then again, maybe it's just BioShock inspired. Well, whatever the case, it's nice that Psyonix has provided players so much free DLC over the years. They made a great game, they've been quite generous to their players, and they've seen much deserved success. Fond of adventures in outer space? Good news. Astroneer will be available in early access on the Xbox One, Windows 10, and Steam this December. We have a fresh trailer to show it off. Astroneer is something special. It plays a lot like Minecraft in some aspects as you're drilling around for resources and exploring, but you're not confined to a single world. You can harvest fuel and use it in your spaceship to go to other worlds. Now, I've tried it at PAX East and had a great time. If it sounds like your sort of game, be sure to check out Astroneer when it's available later this year. Finally, we have some fresh footage of The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild that shows off in-game cooking. It's serendipitously musical. It also looks tasty. One can't help but wonder if Link can prepare bell peppers and beef. I suppose that remains to be seen. Well, that's it for the very first episode of One RBC Gaming Weekly. What do you think of the show? Hit us up and follow at OneRuleBeCool on Twitter and let us know. If you'd like to hear me complain more about the game industry throughout the week, you can follow me on Twitter at Jordan_Cameron.